Good evening. Thank you for taking a few moments with me in the Word. I was in prayer the other morning, and the Lord was reminding me that He will revive in the midst of me. Whatever needs to be revived, He'll revive in the midst of the years. But He did say that He would restore the years that the enemy has stolen, that He will revive in the midst of what looks dead. Well, of course, He's our resurrection life. And He will revive in the midst of opposition. Resurrection life will arise all around us. He makes dead things come back to life. And Habakkuk 3:2, Habakkuk, he said, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known and remember your mercy. And we know this in Romans chapter 8 and verse 11. I'm going to read this out of the Passion. Yes, God raised Jesus to life. And since God's spirit of resurrection lives in you, He will also raise your dying body to life by the same spirit that breathes life in you. Resurrection life is in you and in me. And that resurrection life will breathe life into whatever concerns you. What has God promised you? What has He shown you? What has He said about your family? He said He brings things that seem to look dead and breathes life into them and brings that God life up in those things that concern you. And Romans chapter 4, verse 17. Now, this is about following the faith of Abraham. And it says, as it is written, I've made thee a father of many nations before him whom he believed, even God who quickeneth the dead and calleth those things which be not as though they were. I'm going to read this in another translation. That's what the scripture means when it says, I have made you the father of many nations. He is our example and father, for in God's presence, he believed that God can raise the dead and call into being things that don't even exist, to call into being things that don't even exist. And with that resurrection life living on the inside of you and I, we can speak in agreement with what God has said. See, that's what He needs. He just needs us to speak in agreement with what He has said. And when He has our agreement, then resurrection life can raise up that dream and breathe new life into it, can breathe new life into your family, new life into what God has called you to do. Resurrection life abides on the inside of you, and the same spirit that raised Jesus from the dead is the same spirit that will cause what God has told you to rise up in the midst of you. Whether there's chaos around you, it'll rise up in the midst of chaos. It will rise up in the midst of opposition. What God has promised you will rise up with the life of God. I love you, and I look forward to being with you again on Wednesday.